What is up, guys? Pie Muffin here, and we are back with another Kai no Kiseki video. So, as with the other videos, I'm just going through topics that I feel, or not even that I feel, that I want to talk about. Like, obviously, things I'm thinking about as we've seen all this stuff and being like, okay, what can be good as a discussion point? So, in this video, we're going to talk about we don't know what they're called yet, so for now, I'm just calling them the Genesis Knights. Because obviously they have a Genesis type logo on their masks, and we don't know much else about them beyond that. So for this video, what I want to do is talk about what they could be, as well as the identities behind the ones we've seen, so possible identities of the ones we've seen so far. So the first time we saw some of these guys was during the second character trailer that they did, which came out over a month ago. We saw, where is it? It's the part where Reset and Sao are fighting them. Okay, here it is. So we get to this part right here, right after we see Yolda right there. And then you see Reset fighting this guy right here, who seems to just have a knife. You can see that. He's just got a little knife there. And then she jumps to kind of hit him down. Okay, so. And then you got this second guy right here who has a blue and red sword that Sao is fighting. So, at first, when this first came out, a lot of people were speaking to be like, oh, this is like Aaron's swords. Obviously, they are slightly different from the swords Aaron uses because Aaron's swords only turn red and blue when he does one of his crafts. But they do still have, the ends of them are kind of, red and bluish. So a lot of people are thinking it's like, oh, maybe this is a character related to Aaron. So that's definitely one of the ones. And then with the knife, the only character we really know that we've encountered in the Calvard games who used a knife was Melchior. So there's also always the possibility that there's some relation to that with this knife wielder right here. And then we go here, and we move to the part where we see all the different things for them. Where is it? Should be right around here somewhere. Here we go. So you get this shot of a lot of them. You've obviously got a bunch of different colored ones, but from what we can see, and it looks like there's more than 8. So my initial theory was that, okay, there's going to be one for each of the different Genesis. But you can see there's a lot of different people back here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like at least 9. Did I count this guy? I don't remember if I did. Either way, there's at least like 9 of them. So it does seem like there's more than 8. Plus this monstrosity right here, which God only knows what that's supposed to be. But I'll go into theories on all of that stuff. So this one right here, obviously a feminine character that does kind of have a similar stance to kind of like how Reset stands, with her gun pointing up, and then she's got her knife ready to go. So there could be some relation there. You can definitely see that this one right here seems to be holding the 8th Genesis because it's all red. You've got this one standing on what looks like to be a hand of this beast. So maybe this one actually controls the beast. You've got one with his arms crossed right here. And then, of course, we do see a bit more of these guys. Where is it? At this part right here, right after they show the countdown. So you see right immediately Van jumps in and smashes down on the beast-looking one. You see it very briefly there for a second. Yeah, so that's the beast one. You can see his fists and everything. And then Elaine jumps from the opposing side, going after the knife-wielding one that we saw Reset fighting in the previous trailer. Then we see Ferry fighting one that seems to be holding a giant rifle here. Ferry knocks this one with the giant rifle into the ground. And then we see the one from before, from the first trailer, with the red and blue swords coming at Aaron over here. So obviously, and I feel like these matchups are very much intentional. So now let's go over what I think is going on here. I don't know there's a lot to. Oh, and there's obviously the big like elephant in the room one at the end here, the Golden Knight, which could be any number of characters, but right now we are assuming it's Agnes. So we don't know. This is obviously not a Genesis Knight, but it very well could be. Like maybe this is the one that leads all the others, for all we know. But right now we've already kind of assumed that this one is going to be Agnes. But let's go through the possible identities for the other ones. So the one I was talking about here, the one we see fighting Reset, I do think there's a chance it is Melchior. Now, the logistics of how this will be, because we don't know. It's like, okay, whoever's doing this with the Genesis, are they bringing these characters back to life and just controlling them with these masks or whatever? That's one theory. Another theory is, okay, are they simulcrums like McBurn was in Reverie? Did the professor somehow work into making simulcrum Genesis variants of these characters, which raises another question: how would they get them? Because as of the end of Kuro no Kiseki 2 / Trails Through Daybreak 2, Agnes and the rest of the Arkwright Solutions, we have all 8 Genesis. Like, we own them all. They're not active right now, but they do own them all. So obviously something is going to happen in this game if this is how this works, because we also have that one shot of Professor Hamilton seemingly having the 8th Genesis. So where was that at? Oh, that's wrong trailer in this one. Where is she? Where was it? Was it here? I think it was actually before this. Is it after this one? Yeah, so you can see here the red 8th Genesis is right here with whatever Professor Hamilton is doing. So that could be some kind of relation to everything as well. Who knows, maybe Professor Hamilton asked for the Genesis before whatever she's working on and we give her some of them type deal. But yeah, so whether it's a resurrection, like kind of like what we saw with, by the way, obviously Daybreak 2 spoilers. If you haven't played yet, I would definitely recommend clicking off because I'm about to drop the biggest spoiler about the end of the game. Obviously, we know the 8th Genesis is what was keeping Dingo resurrected at the end of Daybreak 2. So it could be a similar situation where instead of it being the Red Grendel with these pseudo-revived versions of the characters, they're instead being these masked characters with Genesis-type logos on their mask. So that is another possibility there. But regardless of how they are coming back, I think we can at least guess the relation. Maybe not the identities specifically, but at least the relation when it comes to each different one. So let's obviously starting with the one Reset is fighting. It's either Melchior or something related to Melchior, I would assume, because we really don't have any other Daybreak characters that fight with a knife like that, unless it's going to be someone from a different arc, which wouldn't really make sense because it's a Calvard game. So I am keeping my hypothesis for each identity stuck to these characters. Now, as for the one Sao and Aaron will be fighting, this guy with 2 swords, so we can guess it's either, here's my 2 theories. A, it's either Aaron, you know, an alternate version of Aaron, or maybe it's Tycoon itself. So, like a recreation of Tycoon just using Aaron's body. Like maybe Tycoon or Tyrant, as he was called in localization. Maybe this is going to end up being him instead of Aaron. Now, we do have to kind of go into, I've seen a lot of different theories, which a lot of them do seem plausible. So one of the biggest ones was, what if this is the Arkwright Solutions group? And I think I kind of talked about this in my first video, but what if this is a Arkwright Solutions group from a doomed timeline? You know, we've obviously seen this before with Ishmael Gareen. Ishmael Gareen was from the timeline of the normal ending of Cold Steel 4, where Reen flew up into space with Ishmelga, so it wouldn't be able to contaminate the world any longer. So it's obviously a recreation of that. So we could see a similar thing here. Maybe this is a timeline where Van does lock himself away at the end of the first Daybreak, or maybe the deaths in the second game actually stick. Like the first death sticks. Like let's say, for example, the first death we see in Daybreak 2 that gets reset is when Elaine and Van get killed. So maybe it's a timeline where Elaine and Van stayed dead and everyone else had to continue on without them and eventually turned into this. That's another theory that's kind of been out there. So if that was the case, like let's say we run with that one, this could be, I mean, obviously the first one still seems like it's going to be Melchior, so that's not related to this, but maybe this is just an Aaron way that after losing Van and Elaine, ended up going down this dark path alongside all of these other ones that we've seen. But let's now go back to what all of these look like. So obviously the one we saw, we don't know anything about the beast that we see here. Don't really know who's controlling it or what. Another theory is like maybe this beast is going to be a my one theory is like if each of these Genesis variants are going to have a importance to a specific character, like obviously Elaine wanted to get Melchior before he got away very early on, but then what if the one with the beast, where is it? Back here in the beginning somewhere. This one that's standing on here, what if it's I had two theories. One, what if this is Quattro right here, and instead of having, his two robots, he's controlling this beast instead. So like a dark timeline Quattro that just controls this. The other idea I had is if this is going to be related to Quattro, what if this is Professor Callahan from a Doom timeline and he put himself into this beast? So that's another kind of thing I thought of right there. But yeah, so moving back to the other ones that we can kind of see. So obviously I'm leaning towards Melchior with this one because he moves a lot like Melchior and obviously has a similar weapon. Plus Elaine, I mean, not really Reset, but Elaine being the one to take him on or even take him down would be fitting. And then the one we see Ferry fighting obviously has a long rifle that looks like it could be one of two things. Either Aida's rifle or her brother's rifle. So this could be one of two things. This could be a alternate timeline Aida that's alive, or a resurrected Aida, depending on which theory we're going with. Or it could be an older Ferry that maybe Kasim died in a different timeline, so she took up his weapon type deal. So maybe we would see a more grown-up Ferry that they're fighting. And then, of course, we've already talked about the Aaron one here. So that does leave us knowing at least a few. And then, of course, the one we saw at the end here, we still don't know. We don't know if this is going to be related to the Genesis Knights we're seeing before, or if this is just going to be something completely different. But if we are including this in this, obviously the main guess right now, because since we see Agnes crying right after it, it leads us to believe that there is an Agnes one. There's also a really in-depth theory that I saw, but I think I'm going to save that for a different video, and it really just talks about how this game could end. But I'll save that for a different time. But I think for the most part, that's pretty much it. That's where I'm kind of... So let's go over the ones we kind of have guesses on so far, and I'd love to hear down below if anyone else has any other guesses as to which ones could be what. So this, and then I said, like, this girl right here has like a similar pose to Reset, so maybe this could be a Reset that never got in her accident. Maybe it'll be a pre-accident Reset, so that would be a very interesting thing, because we also do have this interesting shot of Reset over here. Where is it? Where is it? I think it's over here somewhere, maybe? No, it's before this. Where is it? I know it's somewhere in this trailer. I forget where exactly in the trailer it is. There's one shot somewhere around here. Or maybe it's here. I'm trying to find it. I know there's another shot in this, in the opening. Oh, here. It's right after this, I believe. That's still that's gonna be such a cool fight. It's around here somewhere. There it is. Okay. So this seems to be the same sort of place where they're fighting all those masked weirdos. So I do think we're gonna get something here that relates to Reset's full past. Like we're finally gonna, because that in 2 games in, we still don't know what happened to Reset before the accident. We don't know what kind of life she lived, or even what the accident was that caused stuff to. By the way, she looks very weird here. You can see kind of right here. It looks like she's kind of like been poisoned or something. Like you look at this different parts of her body, like up here, down here. It looks like she's kind of like there's something going on with her. But yeah, so that's one of the ones I'm kind of. So going back to the picture, where is it? Going back here, so this one, Reset in some manner or faction. I'm not sure about this guy because I'm not sure which one is which in this picture, but obviously, you know, maybe this is a Quattro one because he's going to control this robot, or it could be just someone completely different. Obviously, the one with the twin swords is going to be likely Aaron or something related to Aaron, and then the one with the one Reset and Elaine are fighting, is probably going to be some kind of Melchior thing, which does make sense. Weird place to pause. Because we did see in the promotional material for Grim Garden that there's going to be a backstory that covers Melchior and Sharon's past. Sharon, obviously, Sharon Kruger, who serves Alisa and the Reinford family right now, who used to be part of the Midnight Horse group. Obviously, it seems like she and Melchior knew each other back then, which makes sense because you would imagine they're probably roughly around the same age. So when they got absorbed into... Sharon obviously went with Ouroboros, and then Melchior ended up going with the Gardens, and then obviously Almata. But obviously they must have known each other from back then. Okay, so that's those ones, and then let's just quickly go over the other ones we saw, which would have just been the one fairies fighting. So probably Aida, or maybe an older fairy, or I don't think it's going to be Kasim, because I feel like Kasim would be a lot more lean, plus it looks like a more feminine build for this character right here. Kind of hard to see, but it kind of looks that way. And then obviously there's the Aaron one right there. And then obviously, last but not least, we are assuming that this one, whether it's related to the masked people or not, is probably going to be Agnes. Now, we don't know if it's going to be our Agnes or if it's going to be an alternate timeline Agnes. Because obviously, like, we know the Grendel forms make a character look a lot bigger than they should be. So this could just be our Agnes. Like, this doesn't even realistically have to be Agnes's hair. Because as we see here, and how we've always seen, that's not Van's hair that's coming out of the Grendel. It's just light blue hair. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I've got. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'm very curious to see any other theories people might have as to who these masked characters might be, and who even maybe which ones specifically may be other kinds of characters. But it is going to be very interesting to find out once the game comes out in about a month and a half now. So that's going to be it, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe more if you're new to the channel. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day, everyone.